All right. Looks like we're good to go. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Engineering the Markets. My name is Jared, and it is July 26, 2022. Happy Tuesday to everybody. So, S&Ps yesterday, relatively flat overall session. Might have been more of a challenging session for certain types of traders yesterday. Lower volatility, some well-defined balance ranges set up in the morning, and overall the S&P respected those levels fairly well throughout most of the day. We saw a bit of bullish behavior in energy. If we're looking at things like sector performance on yesterday's session, energy did stand out as a leader. And as we look at some of the previous day performance, energy not only was a bull, but also uh, was much more bullish than the overall market or S&P itself. Slight weakness in things like communication services, drawdown in stocks like Meta and Alphabet, led a bit by the performance of Snap earnings. And then we just saw sort of general weakness across other key stocks that are pulling back after their previous week rally. Now, some of the drivers yesterday, as we look at maybe the energy sector, did stand out as a key bull. One thing I'm paying attention to is some bigger picture concepts for the market. I think we're seeing a little bit of a Goldilocks technical scenario in regards to location, but obviously this week is full of catalytic events that can drive volatility in both directions. For one thing, if we look back historically at energy, this is still on longer time frames a structured bull market, albeit we have this significant loss of daily and even weekly support levels, along with our reactionary low that we're starting to see currently. You'll notice that this market tends to have some high impact lows around the 50 period, weekly moving average, or the 200 period on the daily. And these high impact levels have either stalled out the downside or basically responded bullish, in most cases leading to new swing highs, but obviously we're kind of questioning the size of this retracement so far. So the energy reaction here, at least from a location perspective, has been bullish the past couple of weeks. And we're seeing a bit of leadership in certain key stocks. Anytime we bring up the XLE, we have to be talking about Chevron, which did see a nice bullish trend day yesterday. You'll notice on the short time frames where the pullbacks came to, if you have previous day close marked from Friday, we actually came off of that particular level and then never looked back as the market continued to climb. You'll also notice that stocks like Exxon also kind of breaking their swings coming into Friday's earnings and seeing that upside as well. This particular stock had a option related target at about 90 per share. So bullish leadership in energy to start off the week. We're seeing still some hold and kind of defensive nature in healthcare. One of our main player stocks is already reported. I mentioned that this is one of the few bullish looking trends and sort of structured markets that we have. You compare that with J&J, which did see a bit of a sell swing, but coming into that key 200 period moving average on the daily. And then as we kind of await future earnings for stocks like Pfizer, which are going to be coming out in 2 days, and AbbVie, which are also going to be coming out later this week. I believe that's on Friday. Correct. Yeah, so Friday pre-market. So healthcare as a sector holding up a lot of the strength that it saw recently. And then we kind of have a little bit of a canary in a coal mine situation with the financial stocks. One of the thesis ideas that I've been looking at is similar to energy. We have to be looking big picture at where this market from the ETF perspective tends to bottom. And overall, the 200 period weekly is one of those moving averages that I have to respect as a technician. This is simply too convincing of a reactionary low each and every drawdown to ignore. Which means that if we're looking short inside of financials or looking for sectors that could drive the S&P lower, financials have to get through that 200. They basically have to lose their high impact low that was established during the earnings season. And this is why I'm kind of looking at upside more so than downside across certain key sectors for the time being until we see a break of trend. And then last but not least, our tech sector. As I mentioned, communications was kind of the lead weakness area of yesterday's market. You look at stocks like Google, which did see some slight selling pressure. And you look at one of the stocks that kind of drives a lot of fear into the market due to the previous earnings, and that's the stock Meta. It's coming up into its earnings on tomorrow morning session. So that's going to be one to not only pay attention to, but also will drive a lot of order flow into the market. So that weakness, coming from Snap's earnings, we saw not only a significant gap down, but a loss of the previous earnings range. Basically, every bull inside of the previous earnings is underwater, or their position is underwater. And we're seeing the stock struggle to find its footing. So there's certainly this idea that the market has areas of interest, sector strength and weakness, maybe a little bit more of that rotational notation, where we're not seeing correlation quite yet. I would argue that the S&P heat map yesterday was fairly balanced. We saw that general weakness in some of our key risk-on style sectors. But we also saw strength across energy, as I mentioned, and other sectors just having some spots of interest, either holding or seeing a little bit of additional upside. And what that can do is cause these balance ranges to form. So real quick technical kind of structure here. If we look at the S&P yesterday, the high of the open session was one of those price levels that as a bull, you want to break to essentially continue the rally that we saw last week in our favor. We also see a bit of a drawdown in the morning that establishes a low for the session. That low becomes where a lot of the trade and risk of trade is centered around. If anyone's bullish, they're obviously looking at that low as an area for the market to defend. And if they can't, then we know that the daily pullback or the hourly consolidation on some of the previous trend breaks is still underway. And therefore, a bull doesn't really know where the risk level is until it's been fully established. In these balance range timeframes, there is a lot of chop. I think as intraday traders, we can get kind of allured or persuaded that certain things are going to happen simply because they haven't happened yet. The idea that something has to move outside because of the amount of participation that we've seen inside. And this is a bit of a little bit of a contrary notation to what the market is more prone to doing. You'll note that most of the time, the market actually likes to stay in certain balance ranges with the lack of information or simply the idea that the market likes to transact at certain prices. Getting into these ranges is actually more common than it is not. Trending markets or markets that are moving directionally overall biased are actually a more rare occurrence. You'll actually find a lot more market theory about how a market imbalance is actually a 60 to 70% likelihood, and that's mostly across all asset classes. The big question, though, is how wide is your balance range and where are the risk levels actually defined? So anyway, as we look in the S&P yesterday, I wanted to note these two levels. If you're going to mark some levels for today for the S&P, I would argue that these two are your most important. It's essentially the high print of the first 5-minute candle on the S&P. Any breach that we saw of that level was met with either distribution or drawdown back into the range and testing the lows. You'll also see that any impact against the low of the session in the morning was responded with defense. And even as we started to break back down, you'll notice that there was no hold into the close. There was actually a bit of covering into the close, and it brought us all the way back up to our high. So arguably you can mark the high of yesterday and the low of yesterday as your big, previous day high and previous day low levels. If you want one that's a little bit more nuanced, I'd argue that these two are actually the true levels that need to be respected. And if we see something like a clear volume signal through either of them, and potentially a back test to confirm that we're ready to move outside, that to me is more of a range break than something like previous day high or previous day low. Obviously a little bit of opinion there, but ultimately it's how balance ranges work. These are established levels first, and they become tested over time. The market certainly tested these levels quite a few times yesterday. So having those smaller levels for today's session, obviously we're opening within that balance range, so nothing really has changed quite yet. And that's quite notable given what we saw after hours yesterday. Walmart came out with an earnings adjustment, or an expectation of what to look forward to in its upcoming earnings announcement. That revised forecast dropped the price significantly in after hours. And as with most things, when we have a surprise like this, we want to see if the market is prepared for the surprise or if it's actually in need of some relative adjustment in order to anticipate the price adjustment. So one thing that I'm looking at is the option market. Walmart is not in its earnings week. Its earnings are actually coming up in what's next month? August 16th. So earnings are far out. And when we look at the option market, we see that at least based on today's pricing, it was only expecting about a $3 expected move. And that's for the whole week. So the option market was pricing these contracts and ultimately this risk at only about $3 on either side. You can even take a look back at Friday. So here I have just Saturday to make sure that the market is closed. Here's Walmart. And if we look at the Friday series, we're actually looking at that $3 expected move, similar to what we just saw on the current series. So 132 contract, if I had priced that out on Friday's close, that would have cost me about $3 for a straddle. So what do we do with this information? Well, obviously Walmart's in play today. It's definitely outside of its bounds. It's a big surprise, and that volatility is something that we're going to be attracted to as day traders. I think more critically, understand the size of this breakdown. What was supposed to be a $3 move has turned into, at least right now, it's trading at about 120. It's looking like about a $12 move so far. So we're basically 4 sigmas outside of expected move. 3 sigmas out, a 4 sigma move so far. And when I look at some of the technicals here, there's definitely some support areas to be looking for defense. Unfortunately, we're not quite there yet. So as the market kind of decides in pre-market whether to maybe hold what's been set up as a low or maybe trail a little bit lower on this actual news, there's some potential gamma risk in this stock. The earnings, or sorry, the option market surprise, the fact that there are some heavy 130 put open interest activity on the series, and the fact that, for one, we're way outside of the expected move bounds, we could see a little bit more hedging behavior before we see something like a high impact low, a tradable low that we can trust and ultimately play any sort of bounce reversion on this stock. And as far as this level is concerned, I was trying to decide my time frame there. It's an important level. I think Walmart has showcased how important this is due to this particular drop, which did stop out at about 117.27. And if you look back historically, 117 has been defended as a swing low on its uptrend. So this 117 location is support. It truly is. The fact that this surprise has brought us into it and not through it is also worth considering. It might be more of a viable event. The risk right now is that we're not quite there yet. We're at 120. 120 is maybe a bit more questionable as whether it's a bullish area or still a net bearish area for the time being. And we'll obviously see maybe in the form of some sort of orb setup this morning. The market will choose its bias for the morning trade. If it's bearish, be looking at that 117 level as a big target to meet. And from there, do expect some defense. If you don't see any, then obviously this can lead to a more significant breakdown, of which Walmart really doesn't have a clear support, probably until we get down to the 110s, if not much lower. So I don't think that'll necessarily happen today. I more so think that we're going to see a little bit more drawdown and then possibly defense or range type trading. And one of the reasons I'm kind of thinking that is if I compare the size of the drawdown to Walmart with other stocks, Target, for example, took it down. They took it down in after hours as well. These drawdowns are not as significant. They're sympathy drawdowns, but they're also holding fairly well at the moment. And if I look at these rallies, it did stop the rally. For the time being, these sort of counter rallies we've been experiencing in the market have been stalled out on these particular stocks. But I'm also looking at where would I expect buyers to be stepping back up. And we start to pull out fib retracements here. We start to look at maybe where buyers would come back into the stock. Do something like that. I always hate when I zoom out here. Let's do auto. So something like a 38.2 or a 50% retracement from high to low. These types of areas tend to be your first support zones after breakouts and expansion or any sort of extension in the market, something that actually has a structure to its wave. So for Target, kind of looking at this 148 to 150 tends to be more of a support zone. Unfortunately, this is going to have to balance out for a while before we see more upside, if we see more upside. And then last but not least, Amazon. Amazon is coming into its earnings, and it actually saw drawdown on what Walmart reported. So another sympathy move for Amazon. Similar idea here. We're seeing bounces already on these stocks, market has not necessarily gone into a full sell swing. We're just getting these really quick reactions in after hours. So be very careful assuming that just because it broke from the high that it's going to continue lower. This actually could be a bit of a, I won't necessarily say a trap, but these stocks are sympathy. And if Walmart holds or Walmart does something a bit more bullish, these stocks will easily look to either recover or maybe just trade a bit more sideways than what's expected. So be very careful with that bias today. I guess last but not least, as we kind of look to earnings this week, we do have our first round of heavy hitters this afternoon. So this Tuesday, we're looking at stocks like Microsoft and Alphabet, along with Meta and Visa. As I mentioned, there's some other key names here. There's just too many to kind of go over. Coca-Cola, McDonald's, UPS, these are all going to be important stocks to watch. But these reported this morning, so their numbers should be out. I'm kind of filtering by market cap here. So as far as this afternoon and within our trade today, definitely ones to watch: Coke, McDonald's, UPS. But if you're preparing for the afternoon trade, and obviously I won't see y'all until tomorrow, we can look at a couple of stocks and what they're pricing currently. So for example, Microsoft currently trading at about $258, about a $12 to $13 expected move. And as we look and see, okay, 258 plus or minus 13, that brings us to about 245. Are we seeing a lot of OI at 245? It's a little heavier, but it tends to be heavier all the way down to 230. So there's obviously a little bit of hedging going on all the way down to about 230. Kind of drops off there, and you just see some normal $5 increment OI that's showing up. If you look on the call side, though, call side has the higher OI, at least on a particular strike. About 10,000 so far at 270. And if you compare that with the expected move, about $13 from a 258 stock price, it's pretty much where it's supposed to be. So as far as the call side is concerned, we're seeing a bit more interest there on that particular strike, and it coincides with the expected move. So 270 is a price to watch for Microsoft, especially if we see something like a bullish run in Microsoft's announcement. We also have Google or Alphabet. Once again, option market might reprice this a little bit today because of the selling pressure that we've seen in correlation with Snap. But most of that should have been done yesterday, so I think these numbers should be fairly accurate for now. Stocks looking to open at about 107. We have about a $7 expected move at the moment. And once again, if we just look at that 100 strike, that's going to be your psychological lower bound, both on the expected move and also just as a price, a relative price is concerned, just so that human nature of looking at whole dollar prices. If we're looking top side, I'd be looking closer to about 115. And be careful as you start to price these out. You'll notice that after the split on this underlying, they really didn't get rid of a lot of these 25-cent wide strikes, because previously these were something like let's see, it was a 20 to 1, so it would have been like a $4 to $5 wide pricing. So they just brought these down into quarter wide strikes. This should start to dissolve over time. I think in future series, they aren't necessarily doing this anymore. No, they still have them here. They might start to dissolve those over time. You don't normally see 25-cent wide strikes on a particular stock. So, but as you scroll down to about 115, once again, notice where the OI is. I mean, expected move is not necessarily meant to say this is what the stock will do, but it's where all the risk is. It's where the market deems the risk to be the highest. And if you're looking topside, 115 stands out like a sore thumb. It's one of the highest OIs that we have in the earnings series. Probably is the highest OI if I were to do a full scan. So there's definitely some interest here, topside, similar to Microsoft, and it's focused in at 115. So regardless of what the earnings is and the reaction to it, be watching for 115 impact, and then looking a little bit further, 120, slightly out of the money or slightly outside of expected moves so far, but once again, this is actually a bit higher OI, and it's still at that psychological price. So the reason we look at this is not to go bullish or go bearish, is to say, when does this stock experience pressure in its risk profile? When is the stock actually needing to make any sort of decision? And we use technicals for that as well, because technicals give us a sense of participation. If everyone in Google, I love saying it with the L, if everyone in Google is buying and selling between 100 and 120, well, then obviously if we get above 120, every bear has to make a decision. Over the past couple months, they have to be in this price range. But as an earnings trade, where is the risk for that reaction, and what does that reaction impact due to the marketplace as a whole? You know, the price ranges and relative risk levels that are defined by price. So Microsoft, Google, and of course Meta, one of those stocks that, similar to Netflix, you're going to see higher IV in the stock. People are a little bit cautious of what happened last earnings. They're pricing the premium a bit higher this time around as appropriate. And similar, we're looking to open about 166, $18 to $20 expected move. We could probably look at that a little closer on the at the money strikes here. So 165, about $19, a 167.5, about $19. So we'll just call it 19 for now. From a 166 open, 19 points of upside, that what brings us to about 190 overall. A little bit lower, 185. We'll just call it 185. And similar to what we're doing, we're looking for that high OI. There's obviously a bit of interest at 200, psychological, but that's a bit far out for the expected move. You'd want to see a higher interest closer to your expected move, and 190 stands out a bit more. 185 to 190, there's definitely a concentration here. Same thing downside, 166 minus 19 brings you about to 147. We'll call it 150 because I see 147, it tends to drop off a bit. You'll see some nodes at your $5 levels, but ultimately where most of the participation is, the wall of put OI and the wall of call OI, it drops off at 150. This is where, for example, similar to what we did with Netflix, if Meta were to open at 150 and sell through it, I wouldn't expect even something as simple as a pullback until we got to 147. And the reason is no one has any interest in the prices in between. So this void of pricing means that below 150, there's a drop zone. There's an area where the market can just kind of fall through, and no one's going to step in and say, hey, my risk is there, therefore I will defend it. So that's the concept behind this wall of OI and where it drops off. That tends to be your ledge of risk. So similar concepts to what we do on the level 2, but the option market advertises it ahead of time. So with that said, my name is Jared. This is Engineering the Market. A lot of stuff to cover this week. Voice is hopefully going to carry us through. But overall, trade safe this week and look forward to those earnings reactions. We'll talk more tomorrow, and we'll obviously see what the market gives us.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to PreMarket Prep. I hope everyone's having an amazing morning. Hopefully, you guys had an incredible day yesterday. Good morning, Norm. How are you doing today?
Hey, good morning, brother. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good, my friend. Doing good. Doing much better than some of the stocks that we traded yesterday, but doing good. Doing good. Um, Guys, welcome. Let's give Jared a big thumbs up for engineering the market every Monday to Thursday. So we appreciate that very much. Giving us an overview of the markets and several tickers on there. A big day, of course, as we know, we got a couple of us as Jared was mentioning, big names are reporting today. So those will be fun to watch. But we got a lot of stuff going on even now this morning, aside from those evening reports. A lot of stuff happening here, guys. A lot of stuff on the red this morning, especially like Walmart down 9.5. So just not a lot of great stuff happening there with their profits and what's going on at the actual stores with consumers. We'll get into that. We have Coin Shop, Paramount. So I think some of these were downgrades, I believe. I'm not sure if they were earnings. Tablespoon here down 4%. Yesterday was just messy, and some other ones matter at Amazon. So we'll get to those. Some really nice names on the Gap Up list. The names don't look that much better. Well, they don't look great, that's for sure. Couple of low floats in here. Redbox, which I thought we got away from, but seems to be making an entrance here, and a couple of names that we're aware of that just might not trade very well this morning, but they're in the green. So we'd love to see what's causing that pop for them this morning. Quick look at what we had yesterday, guys. It was a tough day. It was definitely not an easy day to trade. And we saw that on many of the stocks we were watching. We'll start with Mara here, which again was horrible yesterday. At the first half of the day, got better. The second half of the day got very nice here. Beautiful drop, as you can see, after 1 o'clock or so. But before that was just terrible. Did get a great pre-market activity. You did get one initial move. That's it. This one right on here. After that, you had to time it properly. Then it just became pure chop, no continuation. And it did that all the way until about 1 o'clock, right? So that was Mara yesterday. Snap had the move before the pre-market. Had a beautiful drop here. Did find a level of support. This thing gapped down, as you guys remember, from gapping down huge just last week. Found some support here, but it started to move very early and then into the market open. Then from there, after it did this one move here, just a lot of sideways action. And unlike Mara, it did the sideways the entire day. So Nothing happening there. Apple was very clean, guys. If you survived this first 30 minutes here, you can see how beautiful this drop was. And it gave you a couple of opportunities. Pullback here. If you missed that one, no worries. Another pullback here. More selling pressure. And you can see the drop all the way down to about 152. Just recovered to VWAP again, finds an area where it has some resistance, and again another drop right to the low of the day. So Apple was in play all day, guys. You have to be patient, look out for opportunities. In play all day, they're looking really nice. Tons of opportunities to the long and short side. Here was Meta, same thing at similar to Apple. Right, that first 30 minutes was a little bit rough. A lot of action, a lot of back and forth action. Every candle overlapping the previous one. That's always tough to trade. But then it takes off towards the downside, and you can see here the drop, losing the low of the pre-markets. Nice pullback there, and then unlike Apple, which bounced all the way to the VWAP, this one sold off the entire day. So it's a nice trending play there on Meta. Here is Tesla. Tesla was it trades better than this for sure, but yesterday again another one that was very tough to trade. As when you start seeing these candles and you have no direction, it did wind up to a point, eventually gave you a breakout. But this is a tough area. You got to survive this. If you're getting stopped out more than three or four times, just take a break, wait for things to settle down. It did get slightly better, not as better as Apple and Meta and some other ones, but again, just a tough trade yesterday. And here's AMD, very similar to what Apple did yesterday as well, for the most part. Again, not the best intraday action for yesterday. Let's get to our market pulse. Norm, what do we have going on with the SPY and some
Well,
of the
jumping
news
into
catalysts?
earnings, man. We're getting earnings going. SPY's just looking choppy to me this morning, especially on the 5-minute. But we'll see how that pans out as we get closer to the market open. Data of the day, 9 a.m. S&P Case-Shiller Home Price Index. That should be interesting, seeing what's happened, transpired in the housing market in the last several months. 10 a.m. Consumer Confidence, once again, should be interesting, seeing how the consumer feels, and new home sales, same thing as the first. So a couple of interesting data points. The FOMC starts meeting today. Their rate policy announcement will be tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock, as it always is on the second day of their meetings on Wednesday. And then followed by Jerome Powell's press conference at 2:30. Everybody will be watching that for sure. Then as we get later into the week, we have even more fun coming our way. Of course, earnings, big earnings all week. But then first read on GDP for the second quarter coming in hot at 8:30 Thursday morning. Will we meet the classic definition of a recession? They're trying to change that definition so that they don't have to say they're in a recession, but we'll see. The classic definition is 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP, negative growth. So we'll see what happens there. Of course, initial jobless claims continuing, claims Thursday morning as well, and then inflation index data Friday morning to start the day, 8:30. So jam-packed week, that is for sure. It will be interesting how we end up out of this whole deal. And
talk about excitement, man. A lot going on. So cannot wait for some of these numbers to come out. As you mentioned, Thursday will be a big day as well. We got a couple of big names reporting on Thursday. That should be fun also, as it was today. So all right, excellent, guys. Let's get to our list here. We got a couple of names here that are interesting this morning. Control A, Control X is going to get rid of our list here. And that's going to take us over to our gap up list this morning, starting with VRAX, low flow at 5 million shares. Again, we talked yesterday a little bit about low flows. If you were on the onboarding class, we talked about TBLT, I believe it's the ticker. Yeah, TBLT. And we kind of broke this trade down, and we talked about these lower flow stocks sitting at 5 million, 8 million, 2.1 million, and how risky they are. So great conversation there. VRAX up 40% right now, 406,000. Again, guys, just low flow stock. Recently IPO'd, looks like, just on the 21st.
Yeah, so recent IPO. The float on FinViz is even lower than what you're showing on TI. It's 3.86 million. They had news this morning about introducing a monkeypox real-time PCR detection kit. So
nice.
If you're concerned about The monkeypox.
A real-time detection kit, man. This is getting
Go
so
test yourself.
good. So good. All right, so this thing is up here, guys, 40%. I don't know. I don't like this. I'm not gonna have this on my list. Aside from that, I just really don't trade low flow stocks, right? Especially something like this. I'm not gonna put this on. So let's head
Rimple
over.
says, so a mirror? Yep.
Yeah, you're real time. So yeah, I'm not sure how that's gonna work out. RDBX here, guys. This one is up 13%. Another stock that doesn't trade very well. We've seen this many times. I'm not gonna even add this to my list. I really think today on this gap down list, especially, we are gonna find some really amazing things to trade. So I'm not gonna waste my time with this low flow here. LTHM this morning, we are up 5%. We have seen
There's
this in the
rumors.
past.
There's rumors of an acquisition on Redbox. If you guys remember, there was already kind of an acquisition deal talked about that fell apart. The thing dropped again after its run up. Note its high short float at 42.45% per TI. It's on the lower share lower float size, and they're trying to meme it and get it squeezing. So just the heads up what's going on there. I agree. I'm not a fan of it, but just the background.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, guys, be careful with this. Again, you got this horrible pre-market action now. Even though you have 5.1, you got this pop, and you're just going sideways at the moment. So, and it hasn't proven to us that it can trade very well in the past either. So, be careful with that. LTHM, we've seen this before. It doesn't trade very well. Very light on volume, guys. We're up 5%, 6%. But the volume is concerning here. You just don't get volume. So, that's no good there. Taking a look over at GE this morning, they're up 4.3, so nice pop for them. They're at $73. Did they split or something?
They reverse split a while
reverse
back.
split?
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't split that in a while. Yeah.
They had earnings this morning, and surprise to the upside. That having been said, has already been mentioned in my room. In the room, one of my least favorite tickers of all time to even consider for something intraday.
Yeah, absolutely. It just doesn't trade very well, guys. So let's take a look over at 3M, MMM. So this here, it is up 3.6. Pre-market is not looking bad. They typically don't trade very well, but the pre-market this morning looking slightly active, 617,000. I'm assuming earnings on this, Norm?
Yeah, they had earnings which were pretty decent, but they've also got a business that they acquired some 15 years ago that's some potential lawsuits resulting from ear protection. So a little bit of good and bad sprinkled in there, but overall, market's liking it this morning. Once again, this is not the greatest trading ticker of all time.
No, it's really not. Might be worth as a possible, but I want to get to the gap down list first and see what we find there before I consider adding this one, just to avoid filling up this list here with things that we might not end up watching. Here is Baba, guys. Baba looks good this morning. I like the up 3.6, 840,000. We've been stuck within this range a little bit. We're at slightly in the middle of that range right now at 104. I like the pre-market action on it. Let's add this to the list. Might not stay on top of the list here, but for the most part, I think it'll be a good one to keep an eye on today. Next, we have Shopify here, and they are down 10%. Looks like it just started to get going. Maybe earnings were released.
This was down a little bit on, I think, Walmart sympathy. And then Hamish, thank you, sir. The man, the myth, the legend there, posting Shopify to lay off 1,000 workers, or 10% of its employees. CEO says job cuts across units, including sales and recruiting. Says he was wrong that the pandemic e-commerce boom would last. So with those comments being as positive as they are now, as negative as they are, I'm curious if we see some more e-commerce tech stuff pop in here.
Yeah. Retail's going to be interesting this week, especially with what's going on with Walmart. We're going to have a lot of movements, I believe, on that area. So Shopify, not one of my favorite stocks to trade, but this move here, this drop is very significant. 11%, 844,000. Today might be a day where you can find some opportunities on Shopify. So put them on deck here. Here's Walmart, guys, and they are down a whopping 9.1. Just overall bad reports on this one. Did Walmart report yet? No, they
No,
haven't.
they did not.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is a pre-release, pre-warn that's
yeah.
saying that current quarter guidance was bad, year guidance was bad.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting rocked by inflationary pressures, and yeah, that's a big hit for Walmart.
Yeah, yeah. I was reading an article on Bloomberg this morning about them, and people are going into the stores, but they're just getting what they need: bread and milk. They're not stopping by aisles to get furniture, and that's a problem for them because these guys don't make money on food. TBLT here, guys. They are horrible, very very risky. Actually, no, I want Walmart up here. Excuse me. No, Walmart is in play, guys. I want them up top here next to Baba, not as a secondary. So Walmart 900,000, 949,000, down 9.1. Definitely in play this morning. Before I actually move on, the one thing to be careful here, guys, I know we might want to have a short bias, which who knows, but look at where we're sitting here, right? This could be already all be baked in here at this drop here. So just be careful of having just one bias and seeing things in one direction. If things starts going the other way, switch mindsets very quickly. So just be careful with that. Um, TBLT, guys, low flow stock. I'm not going to watch it. You guys saw what it did yesterday in the pre-market, and it never recovered, right? We talked about this being risky, and just look at the drop here from 780 down to 560 initially, then bounced back to around $6.
Ugh.
And if you're holding on to this, look what happens. The entire day, your hopes are just broken. It does not recover. So I know we got great traders. I know you guys are not stuck in this, but just a reminder why these stocks are dangerous, these lower flow stocks. Here is Coin. Coin, I saw something about some SEC stuff with Coin and some insiders trading. I mean, this
Yup.
stock is not good for these guys. So down 5.4, 397. They have not been trading great though. Although this negative news, I have not seen great trading out of them. They're gapping down today a little bit. Maybe this could be the one that kind of gets them going. Not sure. Possible for now. Macy's. Macy's on deck here. Light volume, so I don't think it's anything. I don't think we have any good catalyst on this on
Walmart
Macy's.
sympathy.
Okay, all right. So yeah, so we'll keep them off the list for now. Here's Paramount. Also another one that again doesn't trade very well. For the most part. Amazon. Let's see what Amazon's doing. Amazon
They
down
got
today
downgraded
nicely.
out of Goldman. Paramount
Ah.
did.
Oh, Paramount. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So it got a nice downgrade there on a big bank, not just somebody sitting in their house doing nothing. But here it is, big drop for them. I still don't know if they're going to trade very well. They might. Their daily looks very interesting here for sure. We'll have to keep an eye on it. Maybe a possible today. Let's see. I like their daily a lot. I don't like their pre-market action as much. But their daily is interesting right here at 24.13 towards the downside. Macy's, we talked about. Amazon here down nicely, 4.4. Do they have anything going on, Norm, or is this also
That's
Walmart
sympathy on
sympathy
Walmart.
as well? Yeah, yeah. So Amazon, I think, is another one that can trade very well. They're going to get the volume as you're seeing now, guys. 822,000, down 4%. And that's
They
concerning for them,
report
of course.
Thursday off the
Yeah,
top of my head.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. Thursday.
you might have some people trying to bail
Yeah, yeah. And then
on the
yeah,
Walmart one.
it's just if people are not buying at Walmart, these other places are tough because they're supposed to be like the lowest price you can possibly get, right?
We'll
So if you're
see how it
seeing,
goes. If you
yeah, if
remember
you're
when all
seeing
the
issues there,
financials were reporting, was it JPM?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Came out and it was bad at first, and then the
it
others came
ripped your
in and
face
it
off.
was, yeah, it was a lot better. So it was like an
Yeah,
outlier issue. I'm not saying
yeah.
that's the case, but
We'll find
you
out
never
for
know.
sure. Absolutely. Um, all right, SI Riot here. So we have Riot, which again hasn't been trading well, so I have not been looking at it. I don't plan to put it on my list today neither. SIGA, another one that I see people putting this one on their list. I personally don't like it. I don't like the way the price action is on this. So again, if you like this, go ahead, put it on there. They are trading 837. They're up 3.6, but I personally do not like the way this thing trades at all. I think it's very, very choppy, and the price action is very very sporadic to me. So just be careful with that one. VREU for the most part, not really in play, just barely making 106,000 here. Doesn't look good. And then last one, UPST, which is Upstart. Wow. Oh no, I thought I saw a big drop. More, it was still loading. I thought I saw a huge drop there, but they're down 3%. Also, volume very light, guys. Only 113,000. The daily just continues to get crushed here. These guys are not having fun, but for the most part, I don't see anything great on this right now. We got a couple coming up on our gap up list. PGY we saw yesterday, and this one not a low flow stock, but it's definitely moving like one. We're seeing some more action right now, breaking out around 840 looks like. So you're getting a little bit of a pop there. I know it's not a low flow, but I'm still going to put it here as a risky stock because you do got to be careful with this one. Lower price up 20%. The low this morning 923, and we're already at 1170. So kind of tells you how much this is moving. And then EDU is garbage. We know this because again, this stock it's been around for a while. It trades horrible, very light on the volume. Daily looks good, but again, if you look at under the hood here and you look at the way this thing trades, it's just not fun at all. Norm, anything you like this morning?
I'm still looking, brother. But the one thing I would note is on that PGY, the float data might not be entirely accurate. It's got 392. Okay. Yeah, because it's a fairly recent de-SPAC, and sometimes it takes a little time for those things to actually get the real numbers in there. I'll just note, like FinViz has it at right under 36 million.
That's more like it.
TI has it at 392 million, 393 million. So big disparity in there. I don't know that I'd trust any of those. It moves like it's much smaller.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe they forgot to put like a 3.9 here or something. They forgot a dot here somewhere, a decimal. Either way, guys, be very, very careful. I'm treating it as a very low flow stock because that is the way it's moving. So thank you, Norm, for that. All right, guys, let's take a look at the room. What do you guys like this morning? We'll go through UPST. We looked at. Doesn't look great. We have Baba is on deck. Yes, I do like Baba this morning. I have him on my main list. What else we have? Shop. Yes, Shop is on here. I have it as a secondary list. They normally don't trade very well, but today with what's going on here, this can be fun today. This can be really good. Got great volume, down 11.3, guys. So they are not having fun, and that news obviously not going to be good for them. Google. I don't know about Google today. I think these guys probably tomorrow, or tonight after earnings. We'll have to see. It could be a hit or a miss. I mean, they don't get great volume for the most part. They don't trade very well. Even after the split, Norm, you called this. They haven't been like an Amazon where they're getting nice clean volume. So I'm not sure about that. You know what? I'll put it on here, and we can always.
Terrible.
Yeah, it looks horrible. Hopefully, it gets better, but I highly doubt it. Highly doubt it. Maybe tomorrow we'll get some action out of that. Oxy has not been on our list in some time. It went from being on there almost every day to kind of dropping off a little bit. So here's Oxy this morning. They're breaking out 1.8. This could be good. Nice breakout. Good day yesterday. Yeah, it could be worth taking a second look at Oxy. We'll see what happens there. SPY, yikes. What's going on with the SPY? You can still pretty much flat. Still pretty much flat right now. MCD McDonald's, they are reporting tonight or this morning, and they usually don't do
this morning.
This morning, yeah, they usually don't do much either way. And as you can see now, they report it, and just look at this. They don't get volume, guys. Look at the volume down here, around 2 million shares traded. There's just not a heavy trade intraday stock. So we're gonna skip on down for now. AMD. AMD's got volume, quiet pre-market activity. We can get rid of some of these levels here. I do like AMD. I might not keep it as my main one. We're going to look at obviously NVIDIA as well, and we'll look at Apple. We'll put these three on here because they've been very good to us in the last couple of months, really, maybe a year. So we'll put them on here. We can get into those in just a bit. So, all right, guys, let's take a look at our moderators. Not a lineup, not yet. Let's take a look at our webinars for this week and our community events and announcements. Let me get over to the website, and then we'll come back and continue to fine tune this list. There's a lot to watch today, so you can definitely have a much different list than I do. Let me just get this here for you guys, and we'll get started.
All right, guys, every Monday, the onboarding class, 8 p.m. Eastern, Monday night. Check it out with Carlos, Onboarding Technology. It's open for all membership categories, including trial members. Tuesday, tonight, we've got Andrew. He's going to be talking about risk management strategy, 8 p.m. Eastern. And then next week, we've got Eamon at 5, talking about reading price action through candlestick patterns. Randy Howell tomorrow night, 8 p.m. He's going to be talking about developing your hidden strengths to transform your trading. And then next week, Dr. Kenneth Reed, Habits and Rules, the easier path to mastery. Should be interesting. Thursdays, we've got mentorship, 11 a.m. with John, 4 p.m. with Ed, and 8 p.m. with Thor each week. Don't forget about stocktradingsimulator.com, our free web-based trading simulator. Go to stocktradingsimulator.com to check that out. Speaking of the trial membership, you can get a discount on the 1-week trial. Use the promo code PreMarket24 when you go to the homepage and sign up for that. It is not a recurring payment. It's one time only. And then you have to choose a different membership class. Also, our category, excuse me. To continue on, also currently the Elite Annual, you can use promo code READ50 to get half off and a free one-on-one coaching session with Dr. Kenneth Reed.
All right, thank you very much, Norm. All right, guys, let's get to some of this levels here. Let's take a look at let me see. Let me get the chat back. There we go. We have Baba right now. We have Walmart. We have Amazon, which again very very active. We have Oxy on deck as well. We have AMD. Which is, again, it's got volume, but we've seen a better pre-market activity. I love their daily, by the way. And Maribeth said, yes, he's going to mention AMD. Of course, AMD will be on our list. NVIDIA here is okay. And then we also have Apple, which is spelled incorrectly here. Let's fix that. It is AAPL. There we go. So Apple this morning also looking very good volume-wise, 615. Pre-market action does look a little bit better towards the downside here, trying to hold on to some of these support levels that we're seeing at the moment. So again, good list today. A couple of possibles. Look, oh man, look at Shopify. This thing is just continuing to drop, making new lows here down at 31.86. Just not good. Here's Coin. Also another good possible. They have some pretty aggressive news that is not good for them. The SEC kind of probing them a little bit on some things there. Paramount, and we have Google, which I don't think Google's going to trade well. I have it here just to kind of see what it does. But for the most part, this is just not a great intraday trading stock. And even after the split here, I still think you're not going to get that good activity on this one. All right, folks, we have a nice list. Let's get to some levels, and then towards the back end, we can answer some questions or even get to some of the stuff that maybe we were not able to based on what you have here. All right, let's go ahead. Let's do Baba here. So Baba this morning, let's remove some of the levels we have. I like them today. 3.6, almost a million shares traded. They are gapping up 3.6. If we are going to be weak this morning, this is going to be one of my favorite stocks. They actually have positive news. They have they probably going to get a dual listing and another exchange, and that's obviously good for them. But it'll allow Chinese residents to, I believe, to be able to invest in the stock, which is good. More money for the company, right? So we'll see. I really like this gap up here. We've seen this type of setup plenty of times. If we see some kind of weakness, guys, this would be a one to be on the lookout for. 103.08 is the low of the pre-market. Towards the top, we are looking at 106.70. So that's your high and low there. And then towards the bottom, guys, you got plenty highs and lows from the last 2 trading days. And then our 106.71 towards the top here, you can see the area of resistance you're getting here. So a ton of resistance happening there. We keep slamming against this 106.71 and just can't get above that. So that's good. And then if somehow we were able to break out of this, which again doesn't seem like that's where we want to go today, 108.16 is a good level there. Then this daily is very funky. So when you have a daily that looks this choppy, it's a little more tougher to find levels. You got one here where you have 112.66, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, couple of nice levels there, nice days bouncing off of that. So that could be a good level to have on deck as well. So we'll see. I don't think that's the case with Bob, at least not the first half of the day. I think we're going to have a nice sell-off here. So I have a little bit of a bias on this. Don't follow that. Just, trade your plan. But this is looking good for that. Here is Walmart, guys. Huge drop. And again, tickers like this, I'll be cautious for a continuation of this short. I mean, they are basically, releasing numbers ahead of their earnings, obviously, and it's not looking good. So this drop already could have baked in the entire news. There might not be anything else for us to trade towards the downside. This might just be one of those, rip your face off type plays. Let's see what happens. Already you're getting a bounce. You're at 118. 119 was the low of the pre-market already. Let's move this up a little bit right over here. Already you're seeing a bounce to 121.30, right? So let's see if that's going to stick, if the momentum is going to continue towards the upside. We'll see. It's a big gap down here. They could be done towards the bottom side. But if they're not, last time we've been down here was probably pandemic levels. Yeah, we haven't been here in a while. I'm going to go ahead and just switch over to the weekly. Let's look at the weekly here. And we're looking at, so March 2020 here, March, that's when everything went down. We do have 102, 102.05. We also have 111.20. Let me see. It's something good here. Here it gets a little messy. I don't see anything. Oh, here it is. That's the level I'm looking for. 114.68. That is it right there. On the weekly, you can see clearly all the touches we have on there. So 114.68, 111.13 are reasonable. I mean, that's a big drop because you're already down 8.4, was down as much as 10%. Likelihood of that happening are very slim, but we are prepared. That's what we need to be as traders. Just prepare for whatever can happen, we can take advantage of. Towards the top, guys, we have some really good levels here. Here we have 123.26, and then right up here we have 125.41. So some pretty good stuff there towards the top. I think we are set on Walmart. We're going to see some good action on this one today. Already 1.1 million shares traded. And as you guys know, the stocks that have a catalyst usually the best traders, and Walmart has a very, very strong catalyst this morning. Here is Amazon sympathy play on off of Walmart, right? So we're dropping here a little bit low off the pre-market, 115.35, which is kind of matching with what's happening here on the daily. See area of resistance, we come up, get slammed back down, we come up against this level and get slammed back down again, and obviously that right there is creating another big level for us towards the bottom, which is this 106.46. We'll slam a level there. And then if we look towards the middle of this midpoint, we do have an area where a couple of days are opening, closing, and slamming their wicks against that. So that's good. That's 111.45. So two really nice levels below the low of the pre-market here. That is all you need here on Amazon. Towards the top, high of the pre-market, we're setting a level at 117.43. And then towards the top above this, we do have highs and lows from the last two trading days. And I think that's all you need. I would like to have a level between here, right? Maybe a 118, 119, but there's really not. You got these 2 days on here. Outside of that, there's not anything else confirming that to be a significant level, right? They're either all up here or they're all down here, right? These are your two areas where you have some pretty good confirmation. So this one we're going to add 118.50. Again, very, very minor support here, support resistance. Do not put a lot of weight on this one because you don't have a whole lot of confirmation like you do on these other ones. But it's nice to have something here in case we do get a breakout above 117. You can kind of calculate your risk to reward and a potential area where you can take some profits. Here's Oxy. Oxy breaking out nicely, guys. A couple of green days in the last 7 trading days, looks like. So that's been nice. How did it do yesterday? I didn't have it on deck. I didn't see the action, but yesterday when many things were selling off and choppy, Oxy was actually very clean. Look at this beautiful engulfing pattern here, and it just takes off there, guys. Very, very nice trade. So hopefully someone took advantage of that. As far as today, maybe a continuation, 269 is great value for Oxy because if you remember, Oxy in the pre-market does this, right? Look at it yesterday. Just nothing. If you look at the day before, very rarely are you going to see huge volume on Oxy. Look at here as well. Nothing, right? And then market opens up, you start getting the volume real nice. So don't put too much weight on their pre-market activity. But today, right? Today compared to yesterday, their pre-market activity seems to be on the brighter side of things. So definitely want to be on the lookout for. I like the breakout. Do they have enough strength to keep this going? Above this high of the pre-market at 65.75, I am going to move up here and see what we have. Oh, this is beautiful right there. Nice. You guys remember this breakout we had? Man, this was a lot of fun. We were just kept breaking out of these levels. They were very clean. That was a lot of fun trading on Oxy. Then from there, we got into this messy situation here. See the difference in the daily, right? You do have a couple of candles in here like that, but not every single one. That is not good, right? So that's why we stopped looking at Oxy. But let's see, looking very nice here so far. Maybe they are back in play for us. 68.54, great area of resistance and nice support happening there. Let's see what it does. I would like a level between here. Do we have anything? Not really. No, I'm not going to force it. You got 1 wick here. You're better off looking at the whole dollars, right? 66.50, 67. You're better off doing that. You know what? Let's mark 67. That is a better level to have than to try to just randomly do levels here. So we'll mark 67. It is a whole dollar. So usually when people don't have nothing else to look at, they will psychologically look at these whole dollar numbers as a level of support and resistance, although there might not be anything confirming it in the charts. Like when you go past all-time highs, right? And you get, let's say your all-time high was at 97, 100 for some reason becomes a level, right? There's no history on it, but psychologically that's going to be your next level. We could have the same situation type here, obviously on a smaller scale. So like that there. Towards the bottom, we're pretty much set, guys. Highs and lows, last 2 trading days. A lot of levels and support happening there, with the big one here, your previous day close. AMD, Nvidia, and Apple are all here because we know we love trading them and they can trade very well. They're not looking great this morning, right? Their daily looks good because they've been trading well. But so far, this pre-market activity is very flat at the moment. For example, AMD right now, as far as levels, I'm only going to add the high of the pre-market over at 89.22. And for the most part, we're just stuck between the highs and lows of the last 2 trading days. So there's really nothing else you need to add here. Do not make this more complicated than what it needs to be. You got plenty of levels on there. You know, don't put extra stuff you don't need on your list. Here's an NVIDIA, very similar situation as well. Here's our price action. We're kind of stuck between the highs and lows of NVIDIA also. Their volume today, though, compared to what we've seen the last couple of days, this is very, very light volume. So really, NVIDIA shouldn't be on this list here. Their volume is just way too light for this morning. I'm going to bring them down. I know they can get going, but for the most part today, I don't think it's their day. So bring them down to a secondary list here. Remove them from our main list and make space for Apple. So Apple does have way better volume at 740,000. Getting a little bit of a drop here, but for the most part, still pretty flat. We're not even down 1% on Apple this morning, right? So it's a lot of just kind of indecision this morning. Everybody kind of waiting around, especially the stuff that do not have a catalyst. They're just waiting around. You know, what is the SPY? What is the market going to do next? What are the Qs going to do next? They're just kind of hanging out for this guy to start doing something, right? Once he starts moving, then we can get going here. Once she starts moving here, Qs, then we can go going as well. So we'll have to see. With the waiting game on these two right now, for the most part, as far as levels on Apple, we're going to keep that one on our list. We do have our low of our pre-market here, which is 151.50. So we'll throw a level there. And then towards the bottom of this, the daily has had a couple of really nice breakouts. Like this 147 was pretty sweet when you broke out of that. Then the top of that range, you got the ping pong action here. The top of that range was 151.51. And then in between here, you really don't have a strong level to mark down. Let's go to the left, see if we can find something here to the left. Okay, here's one. Here's a good one. 149.84 might actually be 150, but right on there you can see resistance. So more resistance happening there. Great resistance here as well. So that 150, 149.84 could be an error to have between this level. So that is Apple. Volume looks very good there. NVIDIA, we kind of dropped it down here to our secondary. Shopify, guys, really in play. I really should have this on my main list. It's just I'm so used to seeing the stock trade so poorly. The spread can be so bad that it's preventing me from putting it on my main list, but it really should be up here. I think it is in play. The spread's still a little funky, guys. 10 cents on a $31 stock. It's not terrible, I would like to see this under 5 if possible, but it's Shopify. You're not gonna get a great spread on it, but let's add it. Today we'll add Shopify on here, guys. I think today's going to be, if there's any day to trade this stock, I think today could be the day. So just be mindful with your number of shares here. You want to make your money on the move, right? You don't need to take a boatload of shares on this thing. This thing can move $1 or $2 very easily. You take $100, that's 200, $300, just like that, right? So just keep that in mind, right? You don't need to load the boat on this thing, right? It's a little bit more riskier. Take a little bit less shares. So if things go south, you're not, you're taking a small loss, lose 100, $200, but your potential here could be, 400, 500, 600 with a very decent number of shares. You go in here trying to take 1,500 shares and you find yourself $2, in the hole very, very quickly. It's not going to be a fun week for you. So let's avoid that at all costs this morning. Remember, your job is to be an amazing risk manager. So here, 3168, low of the pre-market, 3013, great area of support here. The daily looks, again, not great, but not bad. It's one of those things like it's right on the fence. It can go either way very quickly. For the most part, they tend to go towards the negative side of things, but today, let's see. Towards the top here on this choppy daily, maybe right around here, we're seeing some action at 33.81, so that could be decent there. And you can see here even in the intraday and the pre-market, you see the price actually kind of respecting that a little bit. 33.81 there is good, and then we have our high of our pre-market, which is slightly below the low from yesterday. So over at 35. If I can get up there, my screen is freezing. 35.46. So that is Shopify. I think it's worth having on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got one too many, but I think this is a very, very good list for this morning. All right, guys, we're all set here. Over on YouTube, if you haven't had the chance to do so, now is your time. Hit that thumbs up. We appreciate it very much. We're sitting at 142. Our goal is 300. We brought it down for 400, but 300 is a good number. And if we continue to miss that, we'll bring it down. So, maybe we have to bring it down for the recession here. Bring it down to 250. But if you can help us there, we appreciate it very much. I think inflation is messing with our likes. People don't want to hit the button. They're concerned there might be a charge, some kind of funky stuff happening. So I completely understand, guys. But thank you for those that are supporting the channel. Appreciate that. Moderators list. As we come up 3 minutes into we wrap things up here. So far we have Thor. We'll give a couple of more minutes for other moderators to kind of hop in here and give us some stuff to look at. Over on YouTube, what do we have? MCD had earnings this morning. What do you think of a long above yesterday highs? The electrical trade, MCD, I don't even have it on my list. And the reason for that is because the way I trade, McDonald's can be very light on volume and very choppy. But let's take a look here. I mean, if you did not know they had earnings, you look at this and it's like, what are we looking at here? Look at the daily. What are we looking at here? This is not something you probably would be looking at if it did not have earnings today. So I think there's still a lot of indecision in the market right now with the SPY, with some numbers coming out of inflation this week, with the Fed meetings. I think there might be just a lot of chop here, unless you have strong catalysts like Walmart, right? Which is negative, but still strong catalysts like Walmart. Who else? Shopify, laying off people. These are negative catalysts, but they're still very strong. These are going to have individual movements like you're seeing now, right? This stuff is in play. Walmart and Shopify are ones that you want to have on top of your list today. Unless you have a catalyst like that, I think you might be stuck in some chop until something happens with the overall SPY. That also includes McDonald's, right? I think that's going to be in there as well. But as far as intraday trading, this is not even on my secondary list because just of the way they trade, right? So that's just my thoughts on that. Now, can it get above their highs, as you mentioned, to answer your question? Yes, it can, but it's going to need some help. It's not going to do it on its own. This is just not a strong enough catalyst for this thing to move. And you have a lot of resistance happening here as well. So it's not an area where you like to be above at. So you might have a lot of resistance getting above that. So that could be a bit of a tough trade there. All right, here's Brian's list of Shopify, Walmart, Coin, and A-Firm. So he is ready to go, guys. He'll be trading live shortly with Andrew as we get this Tuesday morning going. And tonight, remember, we got some pretty good names, some good earnings that are going to be being released tonight, so that should be fun. And then today, guys, closing bell, we have Dr. Gary Dayton. He's done a webinar for us in the past, success webinar, and man, it was really amazing. I mean, if you missed it, you can go into our education center. It was a while ago, like it was like 2021, I believe, January 2021. Just go into our education center in the search bar, type Dr. Gary Dayton. Right, I'll type the name for you here so you can see that webinar. We're going to have him in our closing bell today. It's going to be an amazing interview about his trading style and also his book that he has out. So I'll type it here, Dayton. Just search that. Oop, I typed it wrong. Here we go. Just search that over in our education center, and you're going to see the webinar that he did. It's a real nice one. Yeah, he's the author of Trade Mindfully. So again, cannot wait to have on board. Really good guy, down to earth, a trader himself, also a psychologist. So when you have that combination, it's always nice to have a conversation. When you have someone that's on both sides of the field, right? They see things slightly different, and it's just an amazing, and it's going to be an amazing interview today at 3:30. Closing bell right here on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel, you could do that now. Hit that bell. So at a couple of minutes before 3:30, you get a notification on your phone. We're about to start, and we'll get rocking and rolling. Guys, thank you so much over on YouTube. I will see you in the chat room later today at 3:30. I'll be on there early so we can start a conversation, have some fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys later today. And let's continue here with our members. Moderators list. We didn't get a whole lot today, huh? You know what? We'll read it out anyways. Let's take 2 seconds to read this out. And I'm just going to disable this thing here and bring it over. We'll read this out, and then we'll get going. Let's do disable video here, and let's bring this over here, and we'll read our moderators list. All right, moderators list this morning, guys. We got Thor, Spy, MM, Baba, and Walmart. IPOs for today, MGAM listed, but symbol not in DAS, so no SPACs for today. Jared is looking at Walmart, Coin, Amazon, energy stocks, SPY Qs, and maybe GME this morning. I already read out Brian's list. There you go. He'll be coming on shortly. And Peter, AMD, Walmart, MMM, VRAX, low flow stock, very careful, 5 million shares flow, Shopify, and GE this morning. So guys, take care, trade safe over on YouTube. Hit that thumbs up. 244, thank you guys. That's actually very good. Again, I'm probably going to move it down for inflation to like 230, 250. But thank you so much for the likes. Appreciate you guys. We'll go over and hang out in the chat with our members. Have a great trading day.